Welcome to the My House Podcast, a show about the past, present, and future goings-on at the My House Youth Drop-In Center in Wasilla, Alaska, with your host, Michelle Overstreet.
Hi, welcome to episode 20 of the My House Podcast. I'm your host, Michelle Overstreet. And Isaac, before we get into our discussion, do you have any housekeeping?
Sure. So obviously this episode of the My House Podcast is not coming out when it usually would come out. And on Diagnonsense yesterday, I let everyone know that we were going to have kind of a crazy 2 weeks. That sickness that has been going around hit us, I think, just as hard as it hit everyone else. And so since we recorded Diagnonsense yesterday, I kind of have the quote-unquote emergency release schedule on my board behind me. So this should be coming out on Thursday. Diagnonsense just dropped yesterday on a Wednesday. Tomorrow we have part 1 of the next My Voice episode that we were able to record as well. And then the following week, we are going to have a episode of the My House Podcast drop on Wednesday, and that is the quote-unquote normal week that it would usually release. Then on Thursday, Redemption is going to have an episode drop, and on Friday, part 2 of that My Voice episode will come out. So that's kind of cool. You only have to wait a week in between part 1 and part 2 of My Voice. And there's only one episode of Diagnonsense coming out because of all the podcasts where we had to take a break. They're kind of the most on track, but the next episode that releases of that will be, it's about time for another movie review. And in the spirit of the season, we're going to be discussing the Jim Carrey Grinch. And that'll be an interesting movie to talk about in the lens of what we do. You can actually observe some of his childhood trauma on screen.
And the isolation, right? I mean, we talk about the opposite of addiction is connection, and the isolation and the pain that doesn't go away.
We haven't even recorded it, and you're spoiling it already,
oh,
Michelle.
I'm sorry.
You're breaking
Darn
it down too
Darn
good.
it.
You're breaking it down better than any of us probably could with your degree that you have. Okay, that's all I have for housekeeping. We're gonna have kind of a busy month getting back on track, but we have lots of fun stuff planned for the holidays because it's the end of the year too, and tis the season. It's that time of year. It's exciting. I love this time of year.
Yeah, it's really been an interesting journey with the My House Drop-In Center at the center of a lot of what we do, and the difference in how people perceive Christmas and what. On the spectrum of trauma, what Christmas is like for people that have experienced extreme trauma, because it's not always happy and it's not always merry. I didn't ever imagine that Christmas music would be triggering, and for some youth it is. And we have to really soften the edges of the holiday celebration and really make it about giving and grace and thoughtfulness and introspection rather than a big joyous celebration, because for some people that's it's very intimidating, and they've never participated in a big joyous celebration that didn't involve drunken fighting. And
right.
Michael Carson tells a story very well of one of the first times that we were doing an event, and there was alcohol available there, and we had kids there that were working and volunteering. And one of the kids came over and said, do you know that people are drinking and they're not getting drunk? Why aren't they getting drunk? They're just having like 1 or 2 drinks and then they're not drinking anymore. And that was so foreign to him that he processed that with Michael, and it was really an interesting conversation. But anyway, the holidays are always a little bit of a mixed bag, and I was excited today to sort of take this opportunity to do an update on the building. We for those who don't know, we received a $23 million appropriation this year to build a building that is designed by an architect named Will Carson, who graduated from local Colony High School and then from Harvard University. And in 2015, he won an Invention of the Year award for a building that he helped design on Skid Row called the Star Apartments. And what was notable about that building, and the reason they won an Invention of the Year award, it was a building designed for homeless people. And the main floor is retail shops, so they can have jobs there and do job training. The second floor is office space that offers services for the people who reside there. And then there are different kinds of housing in the upper levels. And so we've had a dream that picture of that Star Apartment building has been hanging on my wall in my office since 2015. And when we wrote up our application for the appropriation, what we wanted and what we asked for was a building like that to serve the youth of the Mat-Su Valley, but also our local community. So we have funding to build this building. We have property picked out and are in negotiations for purchasing the property. And the way that the building is going to be built is community businesses will be on the first floor, and there will be approximately 10,000 square feet on that first floor for local businesses to jump in. We have 4 that have been meeting already and letting us know what their needs are and how we can. We're literally designing the building around the businesses and the community that we want to serve. So some of those businesses came to the table with ideas about things that they wanted to do in that space with the community in their retail space and how that could be used for more than just retail sales. So I'm just out of my mind excited about that. And then the second floor has 10,000 square feet for partner services or office space. And so that will actually allow us a space to get the business offices out of the building that we're in, where we're just exploding at the seams, and get them making space available for additional client services, which is really exciting also. And then in the upper floors, we'll have 5 different kinds of housing and 64 beds, and that includes the Redemption human trafficking recovery program, a recovery high school. The Redemption program is partnered with Priceless in Anchorage, and so we're working together with them to have a wider reach and be able to serve people from all across the state. The Recovery High School is in partnership with Volunteers of America that runs a youth treatment program that is just outstanding. And then it will have a couple of garages for our outreach team. We have an opportunity to expand our outreach, and just so many different things that are pieces of that. On the 19th of this month, December 19th, Will Carson will be in town, and we are going to sit down with Will and some of the different partner providers and those business owners and second floor office space people will be able to sit right with the architect and talk about what they want that space to look like and feel like and how many square feet they need. And I just really feel strongly this building is being built for our community. It's not for my house. It's for the youth that we serve. It's for the community that we serve. And the more people in the community we can have involved, the better it will be for everyone. So I'm super excited.
It's good that we're taking a chance to talk about this. I'm gonna highlight. There's a bunch of stuff in there that I want to highlight. So first of all, some of this we've already talked about, right? It turns out that a $23 million federal appropriation isn't like a super fast moving process that doesn't involve no paperwork, just they hand you a check for $23 million and then you do your thing. No, it's actually the opposite of that. I know federal appropriation, the word federal's on there and it's slow moving. What? No one could have guessed. But that's just the game, right? And you got to play. If you want to win the game, you got to play the game.
That's right.
So right now we're playing the game. We announced this. This was back in like March that we announced this. And Senator Murkowski, who was instrumental in helping us get the appropriation, came on and talked a little bit about it. But we've been a little bit radio silent on a lot of this stuff. And now we're finally at the point where we can start talking about it. So first, the next thing I'll say is expect a lot of people involved in this project to be coming on the podcast to discuss in even more detail what this is going to look like. I'm going to give some more details that I'm aware of. If it's, if I'm not able to talk about it, then you won't hear it. So if I'm talking about it, assume that it's something that we're at liberty to share. But speaking of people that are coming on the podcast to talk about stuff that we're doing, it's not a coincidence that Julia Louie from VOA was on the podcast talking with us, because the reason she was in the building was for a meeting for what you just talked about with the partnership with VOA for the Recovery High School that's going to be in the building. There's been a lot of people around this building that it takes a lot of planning, but every day we're doing some sort of activity or having some meeting or making calls with somebody that is a key part of getting this building up and running. Really quick before I forget, the fact that I like that the outreach team has their little like bat cave at the new building that they get to operate out of with all their gadgets, and they have a spot, like a little dispatch center. That is really cool to me. I'm excited for that.
And a double car garage.
Yes.
I mean, right now they warm up the cars. Today it was 8 below when I got here, and it's cold, and they're warming up the cars outside. And so being able to drive into a garage and load the outreach materials in, they take food packs and socks and gloves and hats and all this stuff to schools, to places where kids hang out, and being able to drive in and get that. I never thought about the bat cave thing.
Yeah,
That's cool.
I like the bat cave thing.
I like that idea.
So I think another thing that I've heard a lot of talk about that we should dispel is, you were talking about moving some of our services over there, which we are doing. But this building that we're at right now, the drop-in center in downtown Wasilla, this building is always going to be here, and this is always going to be kind of the triage. It's the day, to borrow the term that True North is used for their building, it's the day one center, right?
Yes.
And because this building is so accessible, we own this building. It's not some shining bright city on the hill that maybe looks a little clinical or is, it's this super fancy thing that isn't approachable. And that is something that our clients specifically have asked for in their youth action board meetings and their conversations with staff. So the plan is not to move all of our services over to this crazy giant building. The plan is to use that building to help our community partners as far as the retail space and the office space goes. It's to get some more of our housing in-house under a building that we own and operate. And it's also to expand our operations to things like Recovery High School, to things like permanent supported housing for some of our clients, to just increase our number of beds.
Right.
But it's adding on to our services. We're not taking away any piece of property or any building that we currently own, and our model and our accessibility isn't changing at all from what it is now. Most of the staff, or at least most of the positions, who knows what happens in 2-3 years when the building's done, but the positions that we have now, most of them are still going to be filled at our current drop-in center.
Yes.
Which is great. And then finally, the reason why we have retail space and why we have offices in that building, part of it is that clients that are staying in that building are already on site for job opportunities. And a nice building like that, if we have something like a cafe or stores that people want to go shop at, it gives us more opportunities and easy opportunities for people graduating from the cafe or the boutique to make the transition over to the building. It's still close to this building, it's close to housing, but it's separate enough that there's that work and home life separation that is so important that we've lost kind of, or at least had lost through the pandemic, especially with everyone doing work and school at home.
For sure.
You need that separation in your life. And so I think it's a good balance that creates that separation, but also is convenient for our clients and also for the community. And then the office space, not only do we have a bunch of community partners or some aspects or programs that we have that would look to move into office space. But it also, all of these spaces, the retail spaces and the offices, these aren't like new businesses that we're starting. They're businesses that have an interest of moving in and renting retail space from us. And what that allows us to do is to keep the building sustainable, because we're talking about a $23 million building. And we're also talking about all of the expenses that go with increasing our services and expanding out to accommodate things like permanent supported housing and recovery high school. There's a big cost that comes with that. And so by bringing in businesses, not only are we doing everything that I've already talked about, we're also making sure that 10 years down the road, the organization isn't flat broke, or we're having to go to the community and asking them to take on a big burden by supporting the building with their tax base. I mean, as small as a footprint as we can cause, we're looking to cause, because at the end of the day, this is to help the community in as much of a way as we can.
Right, and not be a burden. I wanted to back up for just a second, Isaac. I think a lot of people probably don't know what permanent supported housing is.
Sure.
And one of the groups that's most difficult for us to place right now of the clients that we serve are clients that are mildly disabled, and they might be on the autism spectrum, FAS, FASD, ADD, ADHD, low-level learning disabilities that are employable, but under really special circumstances. They need a little bit more time. They need a little bit more supervision. If you've been to the cafe and you've had somebody who's in one of those categories, making your sandwich or making your coffee, you have to really be patient with them. And while that isn't our intent, sometimes that does help us gauge what the potential is for that client and how we can help them find a place to land and work to do that is meaningful, but still within their capacity. And so permanent supported housing is housing that supports clients that will probably never have a $35 to $40 an hour job. They won't be really necessarily sustainable in terms of housing in the community. And so they get a little bit of a subsidy. And right now in our community, there's something called coordinated entry. And so the coordinated entry feeds all of the housing beds available for permanent supported housing. And I'm not arguing for or against this. I'm just telling the story of what our clients experience. The people who have been homeless the longest on that list get the first beds. So, for example, we had a young man who was 18, single mother, brought him in and said, I can't do it anymore. I need help. He needs housing. And he lived in our transitional housing for 2.5 years because on that list, even though when his mother dropped him off here and said, he can't live with me anymore, I can't do it, he qualified as homeless. It took him 2.5 years to move his way up the list to be eligible for one of those beds. And if we had not been able to hold him in our transitional housing, he would be a terrible person to have on the street. He's so vulnerable and really quite innocent and unable to he would be taken advantage of at every turn and really have trauma. Then you're dealing with someone with trauma and emotional and behavioral health challenges on top of the autism, and we really don't want that. So the idea of having those permanent supported beds that we can put our 18, 19, 25-year-old clients in, and they're not waiting behind somebody who's 40 or 50 years old who's had 10 or 12 years of homelessness behind them, is magic. To have businesses in the building that would allow them to do training. A janitorial company is developing that would be able to do the cleaning and maintenance in the building for some of those clients to have regular daily work. We've got an interest in a shoe shine shop that might be an opportunity for them to some of them are very friendly. They're very people-oriented that would be able to do that kind of work. And so looking for opportunities and community partners who would want to bring those and really support those clients. And those are long-term residents.
There's a couple things in there that I want to touch on. One, the population that is chronically homeless. The data shows that most of them are in the 35 to 50-year-old range, and about 90% of them, according to the studies that are peer-reviewed that I had gone over earlier this year, about 90% of them have some sort of mental disability.
Correct.
And the goal of this organization has always been to get upstream of the homeless, quote unquote, problem by helping our youth become sustainable and never having to fall into that category of being chronically homeless. And I think a gap that we saw is like you said, this portion of the population that is a little more vulnerable and will struggle with being self-sustaining. And this portion of the building is a huge piece of not only closing that gap, but also it goes such a long way to helping to curb and end the chronically homeless portion of the population that our community is seeing on an everyday basis. So
this is how we do it.
This
right?
is how we do it.
This
right.
is how we prevent long-term homelessness.
Yes. And then secondly, another thing that our organization has always tried to do from day one, and I guess, I'm speaking as someone who has not been here from day one, but this is my understanding as I've come to know it over the past 11 months. We always are looking for ways that we can slot people in to job training situations that they are going to have success in. So, and job training is it's maybe not that any of our wraparound services are not, they're all necessary, but job training is, if I had to pick one, I would say the most important one. And when you have, if we're talking about this portion of our clientele and this portion of the population, like you said, some of those individuals that are dealing with FASD or on the autism spectrum, some of them are very personable and are going to have no problem in, like a retail position or a service position. Maybe it takes them a little extra time, but they don't have, their problem isn't with interacting with people. Sometimes it's maybe just it takes them longer to pick up a skill.
Correct.
But
Correct.
For others, there's a huge social burden on just trying to interact with people on a day-to-day basis. It takes a lot out of them, and it's something that maybe they struggle with a little bit more than others. And so I think the idea of a janitorial business that not only, again, helps keep the building sustainable, but also gives some of our clients a position where if they don't like interacting with people, they can just do their thing. They can put their head down and they can do their thing, and they're helping and they're being productive, but they're not being put in a position where they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That is huge to me, because we need jobs that you should have a job that you're comfortable in, right? If you're uncomfortable on a daily basis, just trying to interact with people in a sales position or a service position, that sucks. That's
Not
such a
good.
drain on your life.
Well, and they need support. They need. I know that we've got such amazing leaders in both the cafe and the boutique with lived experience, so they know what they're dealing with and they're extra patient. But it really takes a lot of patience sometimes, because you don't just say it once or say it twice. It's you say it, and then you show them, and then you have them do it, and then you say it, and then you show them, and then you have them do it, and it might take 20 or 30 times before they're even remotely capable at that task. And so having the ability to bring young people in and give them the opportunity to really master some skills. And on that note, a couple other things that we're doing, we're partnering with a group in the community to bring in some customer service training that is actually Ritz-Carlton top shelf customer service training, and really partner with restaurants and organizations across the valley that want to tap into some really top level customer service training and really bring the level of service up across the valley in restaurants. And for us, this this offers something to aspire to for our clients, but it also sets a standard. This is what we're expecting. This is what Settlers Bay Lodge is going to be expecting. This might be what Nana's is expecting. And so they're getting a real life reflection of how they need to perform to be a waitress or a customer service counter position at a retail shop or various opportunities. So really raising the bar, not just for our clients, but across the valley for the more capable clients, so they do get better jobs. Mm-hmm. I think there's a lot of value. So part of what I want to share on this particular podcast is, if you're interested in being a part of that building design, Will Carson will be here December 19th, and our design teams will be meeting with different groups, including our youth advisory board, where the youth give input. They actually have given the most input so far, I think, out of any group for what they want in the building. We have a Judy Gum piece of art that is sort of our art theme, and a handful of Alaska Native artists and local artists that we are engaging to help us with the art throughout the building. It won't be art like you hang on the wall. It'll actually be art that's designed to be integrated in part of the building. And we're all excited about that. If you've driven by the My House building, you can see some of the artwork that the young people here have done. There's a mosaic on the east-facing wall and a memorial garden. And we have a lot of interest in art. And Holly Getline has been a long-time art ambassador for us. And I think with that group of artists, it's going to be really, really fun to be able to build art into the building. And then the second thing that Will is going to be doing while he's here is just talking with the different businesses and organizations about what they want their space to look like, what they want it to feel like, how can we make the building really welcoming and community oriented, so that it's a place that you want to go. It's a shopping destination. There will be a little cafe there that My House will not run, but that will be open to the public. There will be some music venue spaces in there. And I'm out of my mind excited about the people that have come to the table so far, because without giving away their identities, they're all successful, long-time businesses in the community that are really going to bring that expertise and joy of being a part of the community to that space.
For sure. And as we wrap up, I guess I want to leave everyone with this, is that our organization and all of our partner organizations and nonprofits in the Valley, I was having this conversation with someone that was touring the building on Monday, but I feel truly blessed that we have so many excellent nonprofits that are doing great work in the social services, in the recovery field. Just really, the Mat-Su Valley is a really great place to live, for the most part. And as a result of that, we've had a huge influx in population, especially into the Wasilla area. And, despite all of the excellent resources that we have, we'd be lying if we said that all of our, we have no problems as a community. We have no people in need. And as more and more people move out here, that need is going to grow, because that's just how it works, right?
Right.
And so if we want to stay in the position that we're at, and if we want to continue to improve our community, a building like this and community involvement like this is a huge part of what it will take to continue making the Mat-Su Valley the beautiful and wonderful place that it is to live for so many of our residents. So the more community involvement that we can have, and the more input that we can receive from a vast variety of people that live here, the better that this building is going to be able to serve everyone. So I'm glad that we were able to have this conversation and provide a lot of details that we haven't been able to talk about so far. There is going to be, as we enter 2023, just even more that we're going to be able to discuss, and names that we're going to be able to provide as far as who else is involved in this process. So continue to be on the lookout for information. If you are local to Wasilla, please get involved. Contact us. Come down and see us. Come to the meetings that we are conducting. Just get involved, because this is going to be a big thing.
Or Palmer, Willow, Talkeetna. We have two businesses that are interested in moving into the building that want to be closer to the core, the central core, and they're keeping their outlying locations. Chickaloon, we'd love to have some of the outer areas come and join us in there. And I would echo what Isaac has said. I think it's so important to recognize the role of all the partners in the community and the funders, the Matsu Health Foundation and the Rasmussen Foundation, and the organizations that jump in and identify their piece of what that looks like, and how we put it together in a way that really serves the long-term needs of the health and well-being of the community. So I'm totally out of my mind excited working with a world-class architect and having a building in our community that I believe will really be a landmark building. One of the architects that's working on the project with it said people will come here to see this building.
Yeah, and I've been so blown away in my first year working here with all the community support that we've had, with all of the donations of time and money, love, garments. Yeah, it's been really awesome to see in my first year. As we get ready for 2023, we're going to have, I'm excited because I'll get to see the same fundraisers, except now I'll know exactly what's going on. So we can kind of we can elevate those and bring those to the next level. We're going to continue to just do as much work as we can in the community. We're going to keep doing everything that we're doing right now. And we're always going to be looking at what we can do to take the next step as far as helping the community that we're in. So awesome.
Agreed. Thank you, Isaac. Thanks for the time. Thank you for listening. That's all the time we have today. And I'd like to thank Isaac and the Senator Murkowski and her Appropriations Committee and all of the people who are supporting and helping us with our appropriations project. The My House podcast is recorded in the My House studio in Wasilla, Alaska. Our producer and editor is Isaac Smolden. I'm Michelle Overstreet, and until next time.